1994. What was being?
Just kidding. Super Metroid, one of the greatest games ever released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's unique in that I've never played this game when it first came out. Hell, I didn't even own a Super Nintendo. It wasn't until years later that I played it for the first time, and even then, I got frustrated and left the game alone again since I got stuck. Once I figured out where you're supposed to go and how the game works, then I was off and running. Now, in the canon of the Metroid series, this game falls after Metroid 2, which was released for the Game Boy, and is followed by Metroid Other M, which was released nearly 15 years later. Talk about a jump in the timeline. I sure as shit wouldn't wait 15 years to find out what happened to Snake in the Metal Gear series. But Metroid is a different story. A little contradiction there, considering you're usually given almost no story elements whatsoever, left to your sense of exploration to fill in the gaps. This was still some 10 odd years before Metroid Prime, so the ability to scan things to get story elements would have to wait until then. You're given a recap of what happened at the end of the original Metroid, then brought up to speed on the current situation. It's a little simplistic, but I think that's what works in the Metroid series. It isn't bogged down by an overly saturated storyline or droning dialogue. You're only told what you need to know to start the game, and you're on your own from there. The entire game takes place on planet Zebus, which is where Samus follows Ridley after the destruction of the space station. The planet is divided into 6 separate regions, each with their own unique properties. You land in Criteria and make your way through the different zones, along the way acquiring new weapons, suit upgrades, and tools which help you progress. These include the Wave Beam, which makes your shots go through solid objects, the Grapple Beam, the Ice Beam, which freezes shit, Screwattack, which turns Samus into a whirling kaleidoscope of death, Super Missiles, which are used to open green doors, Power Bombs, the Speed Booster, which makes you haul ass with enough runway, and more. And then you have suit upgrades like the Varia suit, which lets you explore hotter regions of the planet without taking damage, as well as the gravity suit, which lets you move freely underwater. Also, it makes Samus a really nice shade of purple. Screwattack is awesome because you basically turn into a whirling ball of death and you can just spin your way through any enemies that there are. X-ray scope is kind of useless because you really only use it in a few places, and that's if maybe it's your first or second time playing through the game and you don't know where all the secret places are. I still use it on occasion, but not that much. The game features a variety of bosses as well, including Kraid returning from the original game, Ridley also returning, and new to Super Metroid, Phantoon, Dragon, Crocomire, Spore Spawn, and Golden Chozo. Most of the bosses aren't really that much of a challenge, besides Ridley, who takes an insanely stupid amount of missiles to kill. Killing Ridley is basically the main goal of collecting the most missile expansions that you can find before fighting him. Most are straightforward, kick the shit out of them fights, although those who know the game well know that there's a little trick to killing Dragon super fast by using the grapple beam to electrocute him in seconds. Most of the bosses in the game don't really have a specific strategy in order to beat them. In fact, a lot of them you just shoot them in the mouth until they take enough damage to die. Unlike future Metroid titles, where killing a boss will get you a suit upgrade or a new weapon or something you need to further the game, when you kill a boss in Super Metroid, you're not really given any new upgrades. The boss areas are just part of the overall game. The only exception to this is Dragon. When you kill him, you get the space jump, that's about it. Oh, and Spore Spawn, you get super missiles after you kill him, but you gotta jump down this long corridor to get him. And this is called Shine Sparking, which you can do after you get the speed booster. Wall jumping is probably the most well-known trick in order to access areas before you're supposed to. It's also known as sequence breaking because you're using techniques built into the game itself to break where you're supposed to go next and just do whatever you want. By using the wall jump, you can get the spacer beam before you get the high jump boots. You can get the wave beam without getting the grapple beam, and because of that you can also access lower Norfair before you're supposed to because the wave beam travels through walls, thus allowing you to open the one-way door there. I mentioned before that it took me years to actually play through the whole game, and I'm glad I finally got into it. I've played it so many times I lost count, beaten it probably a dozen times, and it never gets boring. That's why SNES games, I think, are so special to me and a lot of other gamers. It's not so much a question of these are the games I grew up with, because that's a large part of it. It's more of this is one of the many games that stands the test of time. It's always fun, it's an adventure, and even after all these years of playing it, I still get lost in Meridia. Meridia is just confusing because there's so many parts of it where you can ride the sand pits to lower areas, and a lot of the time I forget where you're supposed to fall down these parts to get to a new area. Stupid bullshit, I say. Stupid bullshit. The fake Metroids inhabit this area. Other than a few sand traps and Dragon, there's really nothing else interesting about it. Brinstar and Norfair, you'll do a lot more backtracking than anywhere else in the game. I always thought it was interesting that there's so many morph ball tunnels that lead back to the earlier areas of the game from Norfair. Unfortunately, most of the time they're blocked by one-way doors, so you're SOL if you try to sneak ahead regardless if you know where they are. Finally, you arrive at the center of the planet, the stronghold known as Toria. This is where you undoubtedly face the most annoying points in the entire game. These include, but aren't limited to, the energy rings, real Metroids, lava, automated cannons, just the two freaking space pirate ninjas that are impervious to all attacks except for a limited space of time. You'll get to Mother Brain in her jar, blow it open, blow her away, fight her mechanoid body version, and the game is over. The planet explodes and Samus has saved the day, or at least saved herself if you didn't rescue the little creatures that helped you learn the wall jump. Overall, Super Metroid has become one of my favorite games, and there are many more reasons than just what I've listed in this video. It's a classic SNES game that stands the test of time, and I never get tired of playing it. Go check it out. Thanks.